That's where I want to go. Well, we all want to go there, and the good news is we can go there without even having to go there. That's the beauty of stuff in our homes. Cindy Dole here, Home Wizards, and well, that's the beauty of creating your outdoor oasis. And since it is the last weekend of March, gosh, what happened to March? And we're kind of winding into, well, Easter weekend is coming, and then before you know it, it's going to be summertime. And you think about spending all of those moments outside grilling, or just sitting outside having a glass of tea, or maybe something else, and reading a book, or whatever the heck you like to do to entertain, to relax, to unwind. It's all about making that outdoor space truly the outdoor living room. You hear about it all the time, but you might sit and look at your space and go, what the heck am I going to do now? I don't really have much of a space. Well, with me is a woman who magically happens to know how to do it. Her name is Claudia Schmutzler, and she specializes as an LA landscaper in this whole room effect. And so welcome to the show, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you. And so your company is called Windsor Decks and Gardens.
Right.
And you have this signature called the floating window. And when I go to your website... Right? Well,
yeah,
are you just being modest about it?
Well, I can't take credit for coining that phrase.
Okay.
But,
tell us help us visualize. What is the floating window?
Okay, first of all, that's something that happened by accident.
Oh, no.
Okay. I had some work done at my house years ago, and the contractor, there was a little oops concerning windows. So I was left with these 4 really pretty true divided light wood paned windows that kind of sat in my garage, and I thought, geez, those are so nice looking. Why don't I put them to some use? So I built this deck and hung them on the end of the deck from an overhead beam, and built a bench underneath, and they floated in the breeze. I hung them from chain. So they created kind of this interesting barrier, and then I had grapevine kind of entwined in the top of the windows and chain. People loved it. They said, oh my gosh, what a great idea.
Yeah.
So from there, people started asking me, and I wasn't in the business of building decks by any means. People said, will you build a deck for me? Will you? Next thing you know, someone took some pictures, sent them off to some magazines. They came out, loved it, did stories. So that deck ended up being featured in about 5 magazines.
Wow.
Including the LA Times. And so that's something that started by accident, and just a little imagination carried it a long way.
Well, it just goes to show you how you really can repurpose things that you have.
Right.
And make it something just wow.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a real trend toward having some garden art. I mean, you hear a lot about buying, a piece of artwork, a painting, whatever that can withstand the elements. But this is something like that, but different. It's art.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. And I'm all for recycling, using your imagination. I grew up in New England, so I still miss that rugged New England feel. I love trees. I love nature. So I incorporate that in everything I do pertaining to my outdoor living space. I love wood. Big fan of redwood. And most of my decks are built out of redwood. Mm-hmm. It's just a nice feel. Rich. Mm-hmm. Right. And I've learned in falling in this business. This is how I make my living now. And started out with those windows and building decks and landscaping.
Watch out what you wish for, kind of a thing.
But it's
right?
a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. That people today spend a lot of money on their yards.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll meet a new client and they live in this palatial estate, or even a smaller home, and the outside is all hardscape, stone, concrete, brick. It's hard surfaces, and they go, we spent all this money. We've got the pool, we've got the jacuzzi, we've got the outdoor pavilion, but we never go out there. What's wrong? I go, it's too hard.
Not
it's
inviting.
uninviting. Mm-hmm. We got to warm it up. So how do we do this? And I always say, gee, if you introduced just some element of wood to take that hardness down, it would transform it all. So we start with maybe just a section of a redwood decking. Mm-hmm. and it just changes it. It's like a deck wraps its arms around you and says, come on out, sit out here. It really does.
And how does it handle the elements? Is it pretty good? Yeah.
California redwood is an interesting wood because it's resilient to insects, even fire retardant to a certain degree, and does not rot easily like a lot of softer woods. So it's a good wood to use. And what's interesting is there's only a very narrow 20-mile corridor in the northwest of western part of the state where California redwoods are grown. They're majestic trees, and I'm all about locavore, buying local, growing local. Doesn't get any more local than California redwood. And I believe in helping the state right now and working with people that grow redwood in the state, and working with my local building supply companies like Ganal Lumber in Orange County, and just supporting the state and people in it.
And so if somebody didn't have much of a deck space, what would you suggest to try to incorporate some of that? Let's say they didn't have any deck at all,
Well, here's something that might be surprising to you, and I only learned this myself recently. People automatically assume when they're building a house or doing an addition, I've got a setback from the property line, 6-foot setback, 5-foot setback. Did you know, Cindy, that in most cities, including Newport Beach, which is where I'm from, you can deck right up to that fence, right up to it. And I just did this myself last week, provided that deck is under 30 inches. So I had this dead space. It was a dog run that never got used. My dog's on the couch most of the time, let's face it. So I pushed down on two sides and gained about 30% more space with my deck. And turned
in the front yard?
In the backyard.
In the backyard.
But, that's a lot. Sometimes homeowners, they don't realize how much of their backyard is usable space and buildable space for something like a deck.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like as we're thinking about this whole outdoor experience, we need to think about, you have windows, you have furniture, you have deck. I mean, to kind of stimulate the senses and have as many types of textures as possible. And
make a deck interesting. It used to be that a deck, people really didn't think too much outside the box. Rectangular, basic. Now it's like I encourage people to think outside the box. Hey, let's do multi-levels. I like to build benches in my handrail and maybe put the floating windows above that handrail and create an interesting atmosphere. And most importantly, I always say, make it look appealing from the inside of your house, looking out. Because
then it invites you out, right?
Exactly right. And it's something really pretty for you to look at.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in your kitchen or living room, you're looking at this beautiful space out there with pots and vines and wood and benches and windows. And I'm telling you, it works.
And it says, come on out. What are you waiting for?
You better
sit on me. I'm the bench.
And the greatest compliment that a client can pay me is when we finish and they say, Claudia, we are on that deck morning, noon, at night.
You've changed their life, right?
Yeah. It's a great addition to a home.
I hear that all the time when people, really do invest in whether it's landscaping only or the whole shebang, a pool, a jacuzzi, whatever, to just get them outside more, how they truly will say that their life has changed because now they're finally relaxing. It becomes a vacation at home. I mean, all the buzzwords you want to use, but it's the real thing. I mean, you're there. You don't need to go somewhere else. It's fun.
That's right. And this one client in particular who, is very social and always on the go, said to me, you know what? We have turned down so many offers to take trips and go out because we just want to be out here on this deck.
I bet.
They entertain much more. It's brought family closer together. It's just great.
Cool, cool. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you can suggest for people, whether they're on a small budget. Because,
Sure.
again, it doesn't have to be a big budget.
That's right.
Right? From furniture to the deck to maybe using fabrics and plantings, of course, in
Sure.
containers to really enjoy that outdoor living experience. Because
Happy to.
a lot of people, I think, they're in an apartment or a condo and they all of a sudden feel like they can't do it. But they can, right?
Right, absolutely.
All right, don't go away. We're going to talk more about this outdoor living thing. I'm Cindy Dole. You're listening to Home Wizards on KFWB News Talk 980.
I think I'll go for a walk outside now. The summer sun's calling my name. I hear you now, I just can't stay. Come on, baby, come home.
Welcome back, Cindy Dole, Home Wizards, where we help you come on home to some place where I hope you'll feel life is pretty good. I'm here and things are good. So that's what we talk about inside and outside your home. Right now we have landscaper Claudia Schmutzler to help us with not only the wall of floating windows. What was that? You didn't hear it? Well, can you tell us again what the wall of floating windows was in case people are just tuning in? It's so pretty.
Well, it's just a simple concept.
I mean, can we do it on our own?
Of
if we have some
course.
windows
Of course.
that we picked up at the garage sale.
That's exactly right. That's a good place to start because that is an affordable way to create something that's really interesting and unique to your style.
You could paint them a different color.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how did you hang them up?
Just went to the hardware store, bought some chain and some eye hooks,
Pretty easy.
and there you go.
And you had a few of them, 3 of them, 5 of
I
them?
had 4.
4.
And what's fun too is you can get really creative because now I order mine custom, but there are like 100 different types of glass that you could pick: seeded glass, or an antique glass, or a contemporary frosted glass. You can bevel or double bevel.
Yeah.
You can do different panes, it's just fun.
Now, what if those Santa Anas kick up? That would make me a little nervous. Do you take them down when the winds are coming?
Believe it or not, you're right. I've really been challenged on, but all my windows that I've have hung in there. Little pun there. Yeah. No, they have not. I haven't lost one yet, but I do advise to take them in if
Yeah.
you are uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, whenever the winds are coming, we always are watching out for our trees. I mean, you kind of
Right.
know, and you do the necessary things
That's
anyway,
right.
and you would include that in your list of
Right.
stuff. But I just had, all of a sudden, I was visualizing, wait a minute, what if those winds are coming in?
They just swing harder.
That's all right. I mean, as long as it's not too severe, it sounds really pretty. I wouldn't mind trying that. We were talking with another landscaper recently who actually hung with that same method, indoor-outdoor carpets. And it looked like floating art, if you can imagine that. So, I mean, there's really, the sky's the limit to
Right.
create. I could see how that would create almost a little barrier, too, especially if this was on your front porch.
That's exactly right.
And you have a traffic going by and you want it to kind of feel like that you can't really see it, right?
That's exactly right, and that's initially what I was shooting for. Also, when I first put mine up, it was a true kind of property divider,
Yeah.
even though it was on my deck, and it works really well. And the neighbors like it too because it's pretty. It's
Yeah.
pretty to look at.
Very cool. Well, so we can do this on a range of budgets in terms of creating an outdoor living room, right?
Yes.
What's the cheapest one you've ever done? Probably you haven't done too many inexpensively because you're doing them as a professional. But I mean, if you were to help a friend out, what's the cheapest way you would help them?
Well, no, a friend or not, friend or client. I start with the materials, and even the redwood. There are different ways you can go. You can go with an expensive redwood, or like a California premium, which is a beautiful redwood with streaks of blonde, and then you can go to a lesser, least expensive, which is an alpine series, which is an inch thick. Has more knots, more rustic, but you're shaving off probably 50% of cost. So you can save money materials in that way. Like I said, and you said, with windows, you can go to what's called a boneyard at your lumber store where they have reject windows.
Oh, wow, that's a good idea.
Gosh, I
so
don't
really,
know, just
so you can
yard
get
sales.
you can get leftovers or previously loved things,
Yes.
right? From furniture to containers for your landscaping to whatever. But then on the higher end, what would you say is a good, reasonable budget to expect if a lot of us who are not moving from our homes, we want to really hunker down for the long haul and do it right? We want to really turn this baby into something that looks like the cover of Sunset Magazine. What would you say we should anticipate for a budget there?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, it really is tough because like I'll start with some clients and people are always kind of intimidated. They go, well, I don't want to make it too big. I just want to make it, 12 by 12. And I go, you know what? I really encourage you to go bigger.
Because you're going to regret it, aren't you?
You're going to regret it. And then you're going to say, doggone it, why didn't I go bigger?
Yeah.
So I always kind of try to get them thinking that way first. 99% of the time they do opt to go bigger. And I'll say you might want to think about benches, building in some benches. You might want to think about maybe a little pergola cover, a little arbor one. And eventually they just say, you know what, let's just do it. I'm going to be spending $10,000 more, but let's just do it. And in the end, again, they say, I am so glad you suggested it because we love all of these things. People love to sit on the benches. People love the charm of the arbor and the windows. But, another thing, people want outdoor kitchens now.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying you have a pizza.
Wow, I'm always inspired by things and places I go, and I was inspired by this great restaurant in Maine last summer. They had this great wood-burning pizza oven, and they cooked everything in there. So I said, I want that. So I just totally demoed my deck that was only 5 years old and built this pizza. I'm building it right now, pizza oven. And it's going to be amazing because it's a real focal point. Again, from the inside of my windows, I can look out. This deck that's encompassed, the old dog run is huge. It's got a built-in hearth that people can sit at. I've got my barbecue under this tree that canopies over.
I'm ready. I'm coming.
Come on.
Let's come on over. It sounds yummy.
I can't tell you. It's like winning the lotto. You
Wow.
put in a pizza oven. People want pizza. They want to sit on the deck.
Yeah.
Everybody's your friend.
It's a unifier, isn't it? Well,
You
there's
got-
something about being around a fire, too. It kind of
Yeah.
makes like a fire pit. It just kind of is cozy.
But one thing I do have to say, too, with our changing codes pertaining
Yeah.
to the environment, some cities are
Yeah.
eliminating the wood-burning element. You can do a pizza kitchen, but it's got to be gas. So, I recommend that you check with your building department,
Yeah.
with your city, and see, what are they looking for? What are they asking for? But again, even to that, you can you can buy discounted brick or stone, save money in that way.
Do it yourself.
And always just be creative. I always push that. Be creative. Make it your own.
With the different outdoor living spaces that you've been working on, are you getting a lot of requests for water features or pools and jacuzzis, or
No.
are people wanting more land?
No.
Yeah?
No.
People filling in their pools?
Yeah, people are really changing. They're saying, I don't want the pool. I don't want the maintenance of the pool. It's expensive. We just sold the boat. We're not buying a new car. We want to be outside. We'd rather put our money into a deck.
A place where people can sit and talk.
Yeah, and maybe the barbecue out there and some nice landscaping. But it's becoming more about home and family, and something about too. Decks kind of evoke memories. They do for me. I remember, New England and family gatherings and being outside and the nice wood and trees around. And like I said, people get locked into too much stone and concrete, and it's not inviting. Some is okay, but not all.
And there's so many great outdoor living materials that have improved. I mean, from this umbrella fabrics too. I'm sure, have you used this outdoor velvet or outdoor linen? I mean, these different fabrics that you can put on your outdoor furniture, or they already are made with it, and you can just
Right.
hose them off. I love it.
I have a friend who loves to sew, and she made the most beautiful curtains for the outdoor floating windows. It was like a ruffled valance, and it was so much fun. because again, it kind of gave it her own sense of individuality with what she liked.
Cool. Well, tell everybody your website so they can see more of what you're doing.
Oh, yes. It's WindsorDecksandGardens.com.
All right.
Windsor as in Windsor Castle. There you go.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing with us,
My
Claudia.
pleasure.
It's fun
been
having you. Coming up on the show next Saturday, by the way. First, tomorrow, we're going to be sharing this video preview that we just completed on the Pasadena Showcase House, which we were talking about, and we will for many weeks to come. But I want you to take a peek on the website at cindydole.com. You're going to see a hint of the restoration that's been underway. And be sure to listen in the weeks also on Facebook and on the website for your chance to go to see the Showcase House on us, all right? So next Saturday, we're going to find out how the designer, worked up the guest room, the countertop choices. We're going to learn about the butterfly garden, the gentleman's lounge, and then another designer completely renovating his own home in the desert. It was left trashed with stuff. How he's turning it around and making it his own. You're going to relate to that. It's all next Saturday from 2 to 4. Now, this week, be sure to catch me this Thursday from 9 to 11. I'm going to be with Bob McCormick on Money 101, home ideas that make sense. Have a great weekend, and remember, the key's under the mat. Bye-bye.